Today, we'll be slapping a book in your face by talking about Kako Natsume. So let's get started. Kako Natsume is a 13-year-old magical girl who is 150 centimeters in height. Her eye color is, along with her hair, are green. She comes from Shinsei Ward in Kamihama City. Her soul gem is a green open book located on a ribbon at her throat. Her weapon is a spear with a tipped square top. Her rich doppel is named Andreana, and Kako attends Kamihama City University of Fire School in the 7th grade. Kako's wish to become a magical girl was to restore her family's bookstore when it was burned down by land sharks. I want to bring back my family's happiness. I want things to be like they were before. I want Natsume's library back. Kako's magical girl element is the forest element, and her ability is reproduction. Repeat what happened in front of you within the limits of your magic. Kako is a bookworm and the only daughter of the family that runs Natsume Books, a used bookstore in Kamihama City. Her mother is a Japanese teacher. Kako's a softly, never acting selfishly, but doesn't mean she doesn't make herself completely clear when she needs to. The doppel of mistaken steps, its form is cutting. The master of this emotion fears her doppel as it unwaveringly swings its blade to chop up everything in sight, even her precious books. In widening, though, she also feels the sense of release that she can't quite describe. Unlike its ever-fearful master, the manifest doppel chops with its guillotine without even stopping to think. In addition to its target's physical body, it sheds any and all magical connections they have. The doppel can only attack physically from very close range, and sometimes slashes at its allies by mistake, so it tends to leave itself open to attack. But the master of this emotion couldn't control it, and so can only remain frozen in fear. The term used for her doppel's nature is izumyashi. It is a sumo term for then when a sumo wrestler attacks too aggressively and steps out of the ring, or a Japanese idiom derived from that term, meaning to act out of independence and recklessness, despite that it is probably lead to failure. In Kako's narration, she introduces herself as a 13-year-old girl whose family runs a bookstore called Natsume Bookstore Library. Her father runs the bookshop and her mother teaches the middle school Japanese classes. Kako narrates that she is an indent book lover. She tells her father the novel he recommended, Furuya Higashida Hayajaju's The Melancholy of a Sugar Glider, was so good she read it on one sitting. Her father recommended another book by the same author called The Trembling of a Flying Squirrel. Kako enjoyed her life of books until one day everything changed. She sees her father talking on the phone, talking about the bookstore she inherited from his father. It turns out that a land shark was looking to take Natsume Library, which was the last shop left in the district, a build at a mansion over it. Kako's father had no intention of selling his and tells Kako that it'll be alright. Her father then went away, getting a support against the buyer. He initially meets some success, but then he met with harassment. One day, Kako finds one of her father's flyers made to oppose the construction, torn up in the front of her shop. She also finds her parents are fighting, though her father said not to worry. Then one day, the bookstore, which was also their house, burned down. Kako had to resign her father as he tried to run to the house. Kako then narrates that she saw the culprit on the day of the fire. She came home from school and picked up the pieces of a poster that was torn up. She then saw a figure in the alleyway next to the house, setting a fire to the place. It was the man wearing a long hat and a mask. Kako could only watch in stunned silence. When she decided to leave quietly and get to her parents, she was stopped by the man, barely able to speak. All she could think was that the man was not normal. The man stares at Kako for a while and then leaves. When Kako returned to her senses, she saw the fire went out of control. Kako tells everything to her parents and the police. Her parents are just happy she's alright. However, Kako regrets her lack of action. After her family found a temporary home to live in, she returns to the bookstore's ruins, thinking she could have done something. Then she sees a girl with a certain white creature. The girl is surprised to find Kako can see Kyubei, and Kako is surprised to find Kyubei talks and knows her name. The girl says it's late, so they can talk another day. Kako asks around the neighborhood about the girl, but she doesn't get any leads. Then, one day, the girl appears in front of her. She introduces herself as Nanaka Takiwa. Kyubei introduces himself as well. Nanaka asks if the burnt bookshop was Kako's. When Kako says yes, Nanaka says she heard it was arson and asks if they found the culprit. Kako says they haven't, and Nanaka says if Kako wants to catch him. Kako is thinking Nanaka means the police. She says yes. Kyubei then offers her a contract. Nanaka explains about magical girls. Nanaka believes, based on the research from herself and her allies, that the fire of Kako's home was started by a witch. Kako asks if she can catch the culprit if she becomes a magical girl. Kyubei says she can even wish to go back to her old way of life if she wanted. Nanaka then asks Kako if she has the resolve to risk her life, explaining that fighting witches are dangerous. She tells Kako she has to decide for herself whenever to become a magical girl or not. Kako asks Nanaka what she would do in her position. Nanaka says if it helps achieve her goals, she would not hesitate. Nanaka and Kyubei then leave. Kyubei's parting words are that Kako has potential. Kako narrates that never since she met Nanaka, she couldn't stop thinking she had the chance to fix everything. She wonders if she did do something, just like when she did nothing on the day of the fire. She also notices her father has been disappointed lately. Kako realizes she's frustrated with herself, but isn't sure she can risk her life. One day, she returns to the bookstore and finds herself in a barrier, which is the labyrinth. Kako is attacked by a familiar, but is saved by Nanaka. Nanaka tells Kako to take a deep breath before explaining the situation. A band of familiars surrounded the girls. Nanaka says that she will fight them, regardless of how many they are. She says that one must crave their destiny with their own hands, telling Kako to stay back as she attacks. Kako notes that Nanaka thought she became overwhelmed by the enemy's numbers. Kyubei says Nanaka will be beaten at this rate, and the familiars will turn on to Kako next. He offers Kako the chance to become a magical girl and help Nanaka. Nanaka contracts Kako tepidly, and she says she doesn't need to worry about her. Nanaka says Kako must decide what she wants to do for herself, not for Nanaka's well-being. Nanaka is still hit by a familiar, but Kyubey says she's still holding on. Finally, Kako makes her wish. Restore her family's happiness. In bookstore, as Kyubey creates her soul gem, Kako says she won't run away anymore, and that she'll fight back. Together, Nanaka and Kako defeat the familiars, the barrier disappears, and Nanaka thanks the witch let them out. Kako is shocked to find that her house and shop are fixed. Nanaka tells Kako that she can go ahead and reacquaint herself with what she has lost. Kako apologizes for leaving so soon and thanks Nanaka. Nanaka says that this was Kako's own decision. After Kako leaves, Kyubey asks if Nanaka was only pretending to lose, to force Kako into making a decision. Nanaka chuckles and says she hardly that skillful, and indeed she was losing. She says this outcome is the fate Kako chose for herself. Kako runs into her restored house and greets her parents. Kako then sneezes and saying she felt a shiver go down her spine. Even if it's not explained what Kako's ability can do, the name being reproduction has a lot of meanings. One is making copies of something, and then there is the life cycle. I'm just gonna let you complete that part. But it obviously means Kako is able to copy stuff. The character's last name means summer and I respectfully. This spelling is the same as in the name of Natsume Suseki, a famous Japanese writer. Considering Kako likes to read books and wished for her the recovery of her library, this is an interesting connection. Her first name means both summer and child. Fact 1. Her illustrator Shino, who is known as the illustrator and character designer of the Clockwork Planet light novels. She also shares the illustrator with Kushiro Ayume. And according to a tweet by Shino, as well as comments in the Magio Record Archive Volume 1, her weapon is a bookmark. Fact 2. Kako's Halloween outfit is the same as a one that Monica is wearing in a promotional image. Fact 3. Her doppel was hinted in Monika's chapter of the A la carte Valentine event. Fact 4. The doppel's name, Andrea, is the word that is given the name Andre with the suffix of Anna. The suffix changes the one's name into a mass noun and adjective, and is used in titles of literary works. It indicates the story about one or a patronymic scientific name honoring one. Andre comes from the Greek word andrios, which means many, brave, stubborn. Thus, this name of the doppel might mean the story of a courageous person. It may instead be a name but after Transia andrida, a species of Transia plants, identifiable by the wild appearance of their leaves that loosely resembles Kako's hair, and their natural propensity to cling whenever they can vibrantly grow, including telephone wires, tree branches, and bare rocks. Fact 5. During Act 1, only she and Kyubey knew the true nature of Felicia Mitsuki's wish. Fact 6. Kako has an English voice actor when she made her appearance in the Magio Record anime. But let's go over Kako's Japanese voice actor, who is Eri Suzuki, who you may know for playing as Pawn in High School DxD Born, Kusumi in Valkyrie Dive Mermaid, Mei Lee in Re:Zero Starting Life in Another World, Mario Kodama in Kirakia Pretty Cure a la Mode, and she also voices Mary in Fairy Tail. Her English voice actor is Denise Melody, who you may know for playing May in Pokemon Masters, Chan in Genshin Impact. She also was in ReZero as Pandora, and it was also Zoli in Miraculous Ladybug, Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. And that is Kako Natsume. Next time we'll be going over Mayui-chan. See you next time.